morning. It is indeed morning here on the rather wet and soggy Isle of Arran. Here we are in June and it's a balmy 10 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, you'll have to work it out. And it's pretty wet and rainy. This is bog standard. If you want to come to Scotland, come in May or come in September. Better weather. But nevertheless, here we are. It's been a long time since I've seen you. About a month since I last was able to sit down and have a little bit of knitting time with you. And, I've had all sorts of intentions to be able to film all sorts of interesting things. But nevertheless, here I am in my usual little chair, just in for a chat. There's a few extra things as well, but we'll have a chat. So in this little episode, I'll be letting you know what I've been up to on the knitting front, and I'll be letting you know just some general life updates, but also talking about the Big Beanie-Knit-Along, our summer project that I hope you'll participate in again this year, and then just looking forward a little bit to the autumn. So it's good to join you. I hope you got your knitting there, and we'll have a chat, shall we? Now, I have to confess that there hasn't been a huge amount of knitting going on, apart from on this little project that you can see me doing the cuff of a sleeve on. Now, I've spoken about this one before. This is the Anker Sweater, and it's in the child size, and I think the size that I'm doing is 1 to 2 years. As I say, it's by Petite Knit, and I have to say it's a lovely little pattern. And this has been my project that I have been knitting on almost entirely monogamously. Monogamous, yeah. I've been knitting on this and this alone. all these hard words, and it's so early in the morning, Anyway, this is what I've been knitting on, and to be honest with you, in the last month especially, there have been two occasions two kinds of occasions where knitting has been possible. The first occasion is when I have been able to steal myself away and go down to my little knit and blether club. That's what they call it, knit and blether. Blether's a Scots word for have a little bit of a chat. There's lots of chat that goes on. If you want to find out what's happening on the island, knit and blether's your place. So I've been able to get down fairly regularly to knit and blether and meet not only ladies, but there's another gentleman there who's part of our little group. Some very nice folks. We meet in the local craft shop, as I've said before. So that's all well and good. So I've had time to sit and knit for a bit when I've been at the knit and blether. And this is where this piece of work, I'll show you in a minute. This is where this piece of work has mainly been getting its outing. But also I had a week away, which is another reason for why there hasn't been a lot of videoing. I was away, busy before it, and then away for a week. I was down, where was I? I was down in Newcastle in the north of England, that I'm very familiar with because I used to live there. And then I had a few days again in Northumberland. Now you've been with me to Northumberland before, so there was no point taking you there again either. And then I went up to St Andrews, little town stroke city in the northeast of Fife, which is a little county in Scotland on the east coast, where St Andrews University is. Prince William went to university there, and lots of other people, but he went there as well. And of course his lovely wife Catherine. And I was there for a Scottish Baptist Ministers' Conference. It was more fun than it sounds. It was good to meet up with some good people there and just sort of, a bit of a busman's holiday, if you know what I mean. So that was good. So, I didn't take much footage there either because it was all busy, conference busy and work and networking and all those sort of things. But in the midst of all that travelling, getting on and off the island, I've been able to visit my mother, and as you know, my mother is also a daily knitter, and she and her friend, they gather together in the evening and they sit and knit. So hello, Mum, hello, Paula, if you're watching. And so when I go there, I get a chance to get the knitting out and have a good go. But see, I've been on this Anker sweater, and there it is. I've showed you it before. Some nice little rib sections on the top, on the yoke. It's top down, and just plain stockinette for the body. A little bit of rib on the bottom, and as you can see, I'm on this little arm with the rib section at the end. I'm almost finished this rib section, and there's not too long to go. And there's some lovely little increases. Every sixth row you do, you can see those little stitches there. I think they will flatten out a little bit once we're into the getting this washed and what's that word? I'm forgetting all the words. You know, all those words, all those knitting words. Blocking, that's the one. Once it's blocked, those will ease up, and the tension will get there. Now, as I look at this, one of the things that I'm a little bit uncertain about is not the problem with the pattern. It's more to do with my knitting and my raglan skills. If I can bring this forward to you just a little bit, you'll see on there. I mean, it looks neat enough. But to my liking, these on one particular side of my raglan, the holes always seem a little bit more pronounced than I would like them to be, and I'm sure it's a skill issue. It's probably to do with the tightness of the stitch or something. There's something not quite right that I do, and it's not just in this project, but it seems to be on lots of projects. So I'll need to, sort of work on that over time. But on the whole, I'm quite happy with this. As I said in the last episode, I don't yet have a little person that I know that will fit this well, or this will fit, you know what I mean? So once I get it finished, which is only a little bit of a sleeve here and a whole sleeve here, I mean, this sleeve has taken me an ordinarily long time to do, just because of life and stuff. But it doesn't actually take long. It's not a lot of knitting to knit a little sleeve in the round like this, and this one's almost finished. So this will get packaged up and will go to someone at some point. And so, friends, this is the sole product of nearly over a month's knitting, I'm afraid. But nevertheless, I am enjoying it. It's one of those projects that wasn't in the plans. It wasn't in the great big scheme of knitting. But as I told you last time, this was the wool that I bought that was the wrong shade, the wrong dye lot for the Dustland. And I just thought, rather than send it back, I think, I've got plenty of yarn in here to do a little sweater. And in fact, it's looking like this little sweater will have used about 150 grams of this wool, which is 3 balls. And I actually have another 3 balls left. So it will either become another one of those little sweaters, or I might do some little accessory type things to go with it. But anyway, so that is a total sum. So huge apologies on that front. I still enjoy my knitting. I really do enjoy my knitting. And today, which is a Friday, it is, I say it's early in the morning, it is my day off. I won't be sticking my head out in public for at least a few hours yet. So here's my time to sit down and chat to you now. In terms of the old channel here, as I've mentioned before, life is in a bit of a flux. I'm about to go full time with the church, finish up my employment at Sanix, although I'll still be involved at Sanix. You've heard all this before. We're also very happily in the process of starting to pack up our home here in this place where you've seen me sitting for quite some time now. We have just about got our heads around a property. It's in the next village north of here. I live in Albanach on the Isle of Arran, and the property we've identified is in Brodick, which is the place where the ferry comes in. So if you've come to Arran before, and some of you have, I know I've met you here, you'll know Brodick, and we're going to be sitting up on the hill there. A beautiful view over to Goat Fell, which is our largest mountain on the island. It's technically a Corbett. We have. Do you have lots of different names and lots of different categories for your mountains? We have Corbetts and Monroes and other things like that. Anyway, it's a Corbett, and it's so that the back window of our new abode looks out over that and the bay. I'll stick a picture in here, not from the house, but just a general picture of Brodick Bay, which is rather nice. And this is the spot where most days, when I'm sort of in between transition from working at Sannox Christian Centre in the morning and then going about the rest of my day, I usually stop in Brodick with my lunch and have a little look over the water to the mountains, and I watch the ferry coming in. That's my daily lunchtime activity, to watch the ferry coming in. And 9.9 times out of 10, the ferry comes in. So don't let them tell you that it doesn't work. It does. It's fairly regular. And so that's what I do. Anyway, so we'll be living in Brodick. We don't have the time scales yet because we're in that joyful process of, sorting out all the financial bits and all the legal bits and all the various aspects of things that have to be taken care of when you're buying a house. And then the house will need a wee bit of sprucing up. It'll need a bit of a zhuzh, just to get it into the kind of condition that you want to live in it. So we're very pleased. I've said to you before that the house rental situation here on the island is pretty much non-existent, or at the very least, very difficult. And we've been very blessed to have had this lovely home here in Lumlash, courtesy of one of the other churches in the country, other church denominations. We've been very pleased to be here, and it's been great whilst our family numbers have been larger. But as my middle daughter is about to go off to university in September, we will have less need for lots of space. So we've found a perfect little place, which will be great. And more's the point, it brings us a little bit of security. So I imagine before too long, you'll be seeing lots of boxes and, what else we can say, shenanigans around the whole moving of house. It's not my favourite process in the world. I've done it at least 5 times more than I have wanted to. But there's something really lovely to know that this house that we're moving into has such a security about it, and it will be something that we can eventually call our own, which is great because we want to stay in Arran for a long time. We're having a fantastic time here. We're 2 years here this summer, and although it feels we're almost just arrived, in a sense, we feel that we've been here forever. Such has been the welcome of the lovely people here, and such has been the enjoyment of the work. Although at times it's busy, and as you'll know, when you're working with people, it can get a little bit stressy. Yesterday, for example, the amount of times I said, if it wasn't for the people, this would be a wonderful this would be a wonderful job. It would be a wonderful life, but don't people just add some extra spice and vitality to your life and to your circumstances? Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, we're enjoying ourselves, and we fully intend to stay. It's all going swimmingly well. Now, as I said to you earlier, I have done a little bit of swanning around, a little bit of what we call gallivanting around the place. And last week, not the week before, I can't remember, I had the opportunity to go off the island. And that was the first time that I've been off the island for any significant length of time, actually since last October. So it was a very welcome break. Now, I've told you before, I think, that one of my other pastimes, and I think I said this on Instagram, so if you're not on Instagram over there, do look me up. I do put stuff on there now and again, sometimes knitting related as I'm updating my projects and stuff, but mainly just sort of little bits of life in general. Anyway, one of the things that I do in my spare time, as well as knit, and crochet is I do what's called Shapenote singing. Now, this is a tradition from the United States of America. Well, I say that it's a sort of 18th, 19th, late 18th century tradition. And of course, when all those pilgrims from all over the world landed on the shores of the United States, they brought their musical traditions with them. Life was challenging, life was hard, and so Shapenote singing, usually from a book called The Sacred Harp, is it's called Shapenote because there's I'll put some pictures on the screen. There's a system of notation where each note of the scale corresponds to a shape, and each shape corresponds to a sound. So the triangle is fa, the round one is sol, and the rectangular one is la, and then the little diamond-shaped one is mi. And so the first time round, you sing unaccompanied in 4 parts. You sing the first time round your the shapes and your part, and then following on from that, you'll sing a couple of verses of the songs in the book. Now, this is it's an old tradition, and some of you Americans may have heard of it. But it's been quite popular in the UK. I would say for the last 10, 15, maybe 20 years, it's been quite a popular activity among some. It's one of those things, you either love it or you hate it. And there's a sort of tradition in a little saying in the Shapenote tradition that says, Shapenote singing, you would walk 100 miles to sing it, but you wouldn't necessarily cross the road to listen to it. And on that note, I'm about to play you some. Now, it's a bit of a strange bit of footage because I didn't necessarily want to put all my unsuspecting friends' faces on my YouTube video, so it's a little bit obscure because of that. But here's a little bit of an example of how Shapenote singing sounds. Here we go. How sweet the name of Jesus sounds in a believer's ear. It soothes his sorrows, heals his wound, and drives away his fears, and drives away his fears. Fa, fa, mi, fa, 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 mi, fa, fa, la, 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 fa, la, fa, so, so. Oh, hail the power of Jesus' name, let angels prostrate fall. Let angels prostrate fall. Bring forth the royal diadem, and crown him Lord of all. Bring forth the royal diadem, and crown him Lord of all, and crown him, Lord of all. Thy kindness follow Jesus in the rain. Well, how was that? I mean, apologies. I mean, obviously, I was sitting there singing and holding my phone, so the most prominent dulcet tone is mine. Sorry about that. But you'll get the idea. You get the idea. And actually, if you look elsewhere on the YouTubes and you Google Sacred Harp, you'll see lots of Sacred Heart songs, and that will sound lots better and look a lot more professional than what I just showed you. But it's something I love, and one of the things I really love about it is not just the music and the style and all that sort of thing, is excuse me, oh dear, I love the people. The people are absolutely wonderful. And it's one of those niche hobbies where, because people's passion for this rather obscure singing tradition, people travel all over the place. And so people come from the States and Canada and all over to sing this stuff. And there's many singings that happen on sometimes a weekly basis in the United Kingdom, the Republic of Ireland, some places around Europe like France, and there's groups in Germany and Holland, the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, all those places up there. There's a group in Israel, Australia, lots of places. So if you look it up, you'll probably be able to find it if you want to give it a go. So that was my weekend in Newcastle. And of course, that was just after a weekend where we had our very first Shapenote Singing weekend here on the Isle of Arran, up at the St. Christian Centre. We had some experienced singers that came up there, and we also had a series of 6 workshops here on the island, where I was trying to get some islanders enthused in the Shapenote tradition. And I think I got some Shapenote converts. They seem to love it. And so there's a possibility that we'll start a regular little group here. Great stuff to do. Anyway, so it was good to get back doing that singing. Haven't had much opportunity to do it since I moved here to the island. But finally got around to sharing it with some people, so that was great. And then I went up to St Andrews to the Scottish Baptist Ministers Conference, and that was good to meet some colleagues. So that was that week away. Next thing to say to you, apart from rambling on about my wanderings and goings astray and my other hobbies outside knitting, is to say that the plan is that we will do another big charity beanie knit along during the summer months. So starting right now through July through to the end of August. The opportunity and the privilege is yours to go on to my Ko-fi website, and there's a little shop, and for free you'll be able to download again a simple beanie pattern. I've shown you it before. It's the one we used last year. It produces a beanie, a very simple rib beanie just like this. You can go on there and find the pattern. It produces quite a nice little hat. I look terrible in a beanie, but there we go. It produces a nice little hat. And you can go on there and find the instructions. And the idea is that we spend the summer knitting on small items, because depending where you are, your summers might get very warm and very humid, and you don't feel like knitting great big huge garments. Or maybe you're going to be taking things a little bit easier, visiting the park, the coffee shop, the whatever, and you want to take something small, something to pop in your bag or in your suitcase or on the plane or on the sun lounger or by the pool or whatever it is you happen to do with your summer. Sorry for those in the southern hemisphere who are coming into winter, but us folks who are coming into summer, so that's why we do it now. I'm in the north. So anyway, the pattern is there for these beanies. And if you're in the United Kingdom or nearby, you are perfectly free to send your finished projects to me at the end of August. And I'll give you more details of my address at the end of August. Don't assume that the address that you may already have for me is the one that will be the one you send it to, because I might have moved by then. So I will give you an update of address towards the end of August, and then I will gather those together and make sure they go to good projects here, either in Scotland or south of the border. Our friends down in Englandshire, they might get some as well, if we're feeling generous. But if you're anywhere else in the world, you are perfectly entitled to get along, to join in, to participate along, to knit along. And if you're really stuck I can help you find a project. But I'm sure most of you will have an understanding of projects where you can definitely contribute to this knit along, this charity knit along. So again, in my coffee shop, I'll put the address down here. Hop over there and download the pattern for this year. It'll be something like Big Charity Beanie-Along 2024. Download that, and you'll have the joining instructions as to what you can do. But mainly, folks, have a great time. We'll also have the what do you call those things? The hashtag BIG CHARITY 2024. BIG CHARITY 2024. And so when you get your beanies finished, tag them on social media or send them to me via my Albanach Knitter email address, which I'll put down in the comments in the description section down below. Down below the video. I'll put that down there, and you can send me your pictures and we'll share. And just to get the project out there, and let's see if we can just build up a nice little bundle of beanies so that we can bless folks as they come into the winter. Now, last year, the beanies here in Scotland, there were about 300 or so that you sent in to me. Those went to a charity called Refugee, and that's a charity based in Glasgow. Like many European countries, we have a significant amount of refugees that come to the country, mainly from some of the very challenging conflict situations that we have here in Europe. So they're a charity that support folks just arriving to begin the process of asylum. And so they're pretty much welcoming people in their first days and weeks onto these islands. And so they pretty much often come with very little, and they're coming into a climate, certainly here in the winter, which can be a bit cold. So they were definitely well used. I know some of you were able to send your donations to Salvation Army projects or homeless projects or elderly care facilities. So, eat your heart out, knit whatever you like, and we will definitely find some suitable places. Now, you don't have to use this particular hat pattern, and there were many of you last year who did your own. That is perfectly fine. And this pattern produces a fairly bog standard generic adult size. But if you do it a little bit shorter, as in don't knit so long, you can actually sort of cut off there with a little turn up as well, and get a decent child size. So the crown bit is so flexible that you can stop knitting at any point on this beanie and get different size beanies, which is why I like this project so much. I've knit this for big burly blokes, and I've knitted it for children, and it's worked perfectly, believe it or not. But any pattern that you want to use, you don't have to use this one. But if you want to join in and just be part of a little project to sort of bless and encourage some other folks, perhaps some folks that are facing some challenges in life, whether they be homeless, whether they be elderly, whether they be refugees, or whatever it is they are, do join along. So the hashtag is BIG-CHARITY 2024. The coffee shop where you can download the pattern and the joining instructions is down there. And I'll let you know when we are going to do the sending it all together in that stuff, Honestly, the English language, I'm doing my very best English here, you have to believe me. So that's that. Anyway, in terms of other stuff on the knitting front, as I say, I'm going to be continuing this with this Anker Sweater by Petite Knits. I'm still working on the red cedar sweater for Mrs. Clark. I haven't worked on that for a little while, for no other particular reason than I started this. You know what it's like. Sometimes you get a project and you start on it and you're keen on it, and then sometimes you just have to set it aside for a little while and give it a little rest before you pick it up. And you all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it is a Dustland. Now, since I last spoke about a Dustland, I've had lots of very helpful advice because I was getting a bit stressy about the sleeves and tried to figure out the sleeves and the decreasing and whatnot. And someone very helpfully reminded me, and I say reminded me because I remember having this in an email from someone before, saying that the sleeves on the Dustland get very, very tight and the ribbing starts about here, and there's a very long sort of rib section that goes almost down over the hands. I think the designer, Stephen West, he's a fairly sort of shapy kind of guy, so sort of muscular and maybe likes his knitwear a little bit tighter than Andrew Clark would wear his knitwear. So the advice that came to me was, when you come to the sleeves, see how it goes. See how you feel about the width of the sleeve when you're knitting. Some of you have said that when you've been knitting them for your other halves, or even for yourselves, you've been content not to decrease on the sleeves that much, and you've done more patterning down the arm, and then you've done a shorter section of rib. And so I think that is actually going to be my solution. I'm not going to want a tight fitting sweater, mainly because I get too warm in the first place, but I will keep it sort of, as it goes, as far as I wanted to. Then I'll do a shorter section of that ribbing section for the sleeves, and that, I think, will be enough to inspire my hope for completing the Dustland Sweater. So I will get onto that. I promise you, I will pick that up. After I finish this little jumper, I will pick that up, and I will follow all the good advice of you good people out there who've cared enough to send me your views. Really great stuff. We are, where are we? We're in the middle of June now. We have here in Scotland, we have a couple more weeks before the end of the school term. Our schools here finish at the end of June, and then the children go back to school, and the teachers, and Tracy, my wife, is a teacher, they go back to school sort of mid-August. So the beginning of July, we are heading on a little bit of a holiday, just for a week. We're heading to the north of the island, hopping on the little ferry, the little 25-minute ferry that takes us over to the Mull of Kintyre, of Paul McCartney fame, Mull of Kintyre. And we are heading up to near a town called Oban in Scotland, and we're going to be hiring out I don't know what you call it. We would call it a static caravan. It's a large caravan. You might call it a trailer, large trailer. I don't know, wherever it is you're from. Call it what you like. We're going to be there for a week, and we're just going to use that as a base to explore that little part of Scotland, because we haven't really done that very much. And one of my real hopes when we're there is that we'll be able to go over to Oban, which is a major ferry port. You can get a ferry there to several Scottish islands. But what we're really hoping to do is take the ferry to the Isle of Mull, M-U-L-L, and from the Isle of Mull, you can then get a shorter ferry to the Isle of Iona, which is really somewhere that I should have gone to, long time ago. Iona is the sort of cradle of Christianity in Scotland. St. Columba came from Ireland to do a bit of penance, actually, after killing some people. But he sort of saw the error of his ways, and he started a Christian community on Iona, a monastic community, and those communities then spread all over Scotland and into north of England, down into the south of England, over into France and down into Italy, and so they were quite an influential bunch of people. So I'm going to go there. There's a little abbey there, and it's just a beautiful island that I haven't been to. So if you're very good, and I remember, I'll try and do some footage while we're there in Iona. I'd love to show you as I'm seeing it for myself for the first time. So I'm looking forward to that. But being on holiday means that we will have plenty of downtime. We don't tend to do a huge amount of stuff when we go on holiday. We just go, we chill out, we see the sights, we try the scones, we drink the coffee, all that sort of stuff. And we'll have our two daughters with us, so that would be good. It'd be good to have some family time. So when I go there, there's either an opportunity that I will take the Dustland and have a crack on the sleeves, and of course I'll be taking my extra yarn supplies and knocking out a few hats. I think the most I did on a summer holiday of hats one year was 7 beanie hats. That was okay. We were there for a fortnight. I managed 7, so that was pretty good. So I'll be doing that, and maybe I'll see what knitting I take. As it's only a week, and we'll be doing a little bit of travelling around. We'll have Dougal the Dunder dog. And just as I said his name, he looked up at me. He's in the kitchen, which is just over there. He's through a glass window and he's sitting adoringly at the window, looking at me. He's in his crate, so he's still young. So while I'm sitting here talking to you, he's in his crate, just sitting near me, just looking through the bars like a little prisoner. But he's having a good time to himself there, and hopefully he's enjoying your company as well. Although you can't see him, he's getting big, and he's the loveliest boy. He really is. He's such a companion. I love him, and I think the family love him as well. My youngest daughter Lucy in particular, she's crazy about him. She's always declaring her love of the dog. I mean, doesn't always declare it about our mum and dad, but she's always declaring her love for the dog. So that's you, Dougal. You're well loved in this family, and now he's hearing, and you might be able to hear, the dust bin lorry, the refuge truck, the garbage truck, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm absolutely rambling now. So there you go, folks. That's a little video for you. It's been relatively short, and there hasn't been all the extra interesting things that maybe some of my earlier episodes have done. But I have called this episode 12 because, it may well be that the shape of my episodes will change over time. So we'll just call this an episode. And when I do something else that represents an extra stitch, it might just be a little short catch up. But this is the best I can do at the moment with a proper episode. So thank you for bearing with me. As I say, we're in a big transition. Things are all change, all go. And as I've said, my middle daughter is about to go to university in the autumn as well. So we have to try and get her over to Edinburgh. So there'll be lots of comings and goings along with the busyness of the summer and work transitions and So bear with me. Normal service will resume at some point, but it wouldn't be right not to give you your Gaelic lesson. It's been a while since you've had your Gaelic lesson, isn't it? And if you are relatively new to the programme, or to the channel here, most of the main episodes, at the end, they have a little Gaelic phrase that I share with you, Scottish Gaelic phrase that I share with you that you can go back and practice, and you'll look very sophisticated and very clever if you can get these into any conversations. But here's your Gaelic phrase for today. Now, this time of the year, especially on the island, there's lots of visitors here. There's not lots of new people to meet their acquaintance. And if you want to say in Gaelic, pleased to meet you, you would say, ha mi tollachche kenjuhuch. Now, I want to hear you trying this one. Okay, I'll say it very slowly. Ha mi tollachche, that means I am happy. Kenjuhuch, to meet you, to be acquainted with you. Yeah. So ha mi tollachche kenjuhuch. Ha mi tollachche kenjuhuch. Slowly once more. Ha mi tollachche kenjuhuch. Ha mi tollachche kenjuhuch. Easy. It just rolls off the tongue. You'll have it sorted before any time at all. Well, it's been good to speak to you. I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning, but my name is Andrew. I'm the Albanach knitter, and this has been a little video from me just to catch up with you. And you can find me in all sorts of places. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. I'm there personally on Facebook, but I do have a little Albanach knitter group sort of profile on there, although I don't use it very much. Instagram, Facebook. Of course, you can connect with me here on YouTube. Send me comments down in the comments of this video. I always love to go down there and have a little comment, a little chat with those of you who are watching. And I mean, you kind of know it by now, but it really does help the channel especially when the person videoing hasn't really been very good at being very regular with his videos. It really does help the channel if you can click like, put the bell on, and then you'll get notifications of when my sporadic videos appear. And of course, you can subscribe as well. So you know all the things you have to do. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do that, and it really does help the channel, and it helps us keep in touch through this little bit of an irregular time. Again, it's been a while since I've said a huge thank you to the very kind people who support by watching the channel, but who also support me over on Ko-fi.com, and there are folks there that send me a little coffee that supplies the wool and all that sort of stuff, and that's great. Very appreciative of those of you who share the love in that kind of way. And if you want to become a supporter over there, you can go over and do that. But there's absolutely no need to. But it is very welcomed and very encouraging when that happens. So that's it. That's it for now. I hope you have a good few weeks before I see you again. Just keep on knitting away. It'll be okay. Don't worry. Just go for it. I hope you're managing to maintain your peace in a very challenging and hectic world. And I shall see you again soon. Martian Leith and Raster, agus Bianach Diagut. Take care for now, and God bless.